But I think if I can interject real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't.
And then Marlon, I want you to chime in after Dez, if you don't mind, man.
Mm-hmm.
I think this situation kind of goes back centuries and centuries ago. We can go back to the times of slavery when to degrade a man, they would, go through the back door. It was a way of showing a form of masculinity. So and it wasn't our people that was pushing that. It was pushed on to us. And it was kind of like, just like slavery, more people, the more we saw it, the more it became a normalized way of living. It's no different than if you see a gay man dressed like a woman right now, you're not going to say, oh my God, there's a gay man dressed like a woman. You're going to say, okay, here we see it. Now, if we go back a few centuries ago, that would have been like mind blowing. Like, what the fuck? So I think this is something, it over centuries and decades of time became normalized due to a particular way of living, which again, this shit was happening during slavery. Like, this shit was happening during slavery to put Black men, especially, in a particular role of submission.
But it kept them in a box because we had shame. It kept them in a box. It kept, and back then it was don't ask, no tell, and they kept them in the box.
But like,
I just think y'all are totally removing agency from full grown adults. Y'all are just totally removing agency. They listen, this is of their own volition, personal responsibility. And when you remove agency, you're taking away that individual's ability, you're relinquishing that individual's ability to think. And I can't co-sign that.
I don't.
Well, hold up, y'all. Let me hear. I want Marlon to chime in and then follow up.
Hey, what's up, people? JP, you said something that was kind of intriguing to me. You said that we were handed a culture, and we don't know what our own is. I'm speaking as though I've been ostracized from the Black community. That's what I was told. I'm not Black anymore. So I'm speaking from the outside in now. I have upgraded. I've ascended apparently. So I don't have a Black culture either, apparently. So I don't have a culture neither.
Oh no!
Wow.
Who would have handed Black people that culture if white people don't have a culture themselves?
But white people, by the definition that she said, white people do have a culture.
What is their culture?
Because the definition that she gave is it's something that you continue to follow behind and you don't break the cycle.
I get it, but what is their culture?
The difference between the culture that they possess is discipline of power, control, and discipline of staying afloat of whatever that the ideology or the mission or the agenda is. They follow it, because if we were enslaved, or if for 500 years or whatever that we claim that we have been, they have not broken a cycle yet. From generation on generation, if we have been held down like people say that we are, how have no white person ever broken discipline of not falling victim of how we supposed to follow behind them? When it comes to Indian culture, when it comes to Chinese culture, when they stand firm on a certain way that they live, if they say that they can only have one child, if they believe that you can only have one child in the household and it is punishable by X, Y, and Z, they stick to it. Black people, whatever that our values are, we don't stick by them. If we say gay should not come into our church, our lives, we still forgive and say, oh, bring them into church because God can save them.
But that doesn't happen anywhere but here.
in Western culture, yes,
right. So that's
so when I say black culture in America, black people in America,
okay,
we don't have anything.
So who gave them that culture? You said we were given a culture. So who gave it, and what culture were they handed?
So growing up, especially in public school, with we have in low income areas, when it comes to the educational system, we are indoctrinated. They have been indoctrinated to where there's a certain level of curriculum that, again, when it comes to black people, we don't teach our kids within our house. The black culture they have allowed the school to raise them, and as generations have came forward, they have gotten dependent on the public school system. Now teachers have become babysitters, glorified babysitters, because black parents are just sending them to school and hoping that they teach them everything instead of of values and morals at the house. That I can only now, when I send my kids to school, it's supposed to be a bridge and not just for them being able to be taught.
So whose morals and whose standards?
Say what?
Whose morals and whose standards?
I see where Marlon going.
But are you going to asking the question of if we don't have a culture, if we don't know one, how would we have morals?
What are you handing down?
From us?
No. You say, okay, so let me back up to if you're saying right now that we have nothing and we don't stand on our word, that's not really the truth. I think there is a certain amount of us that do that, and then there is a certain amount of us that do have a grasp on our actual culture, and it's a homogenous culture. And I don't think we want to have, we would love to have a nationwide culture, but it's not possible because there are too many ignorant people that don't want a group culture. And the ones that are gravitating to what is considered now a group culture are the depraved. Now, if you look at our actual culture that we could have brought forward that we decided not to, from about the 1840s, 1835 to about 1933, 34, there was a massive amount of family-based culture in the Black community. And after a certain point, we decided, and it is, like Neil was saying, it's an agency issue, decided to give that up for what? The other side of it is that you had probably about 40% that took the bait. The others were ostracized from that particular community. They're no longer considered Black. Look at it this way. The Black people have the choice to call their own people Black. Instead, they call them sellouts. So when you see that there's a Black family that decided to move away from this current culture and they have their own home, they live in a gated community, they're no longer considered what? Black. They're not part of the Black community. Why are they not part of a Black community when they're living in America and they're Black? They're not, because they're not participating in what and this is, it's a minority issue, of the minority that want to push this as our identity. And when the people like us come forward and say that shouldn't be our identity, what are you going to be called? You're going to be called acting white. If you try to get an education, you're acting white. You talk proper, that's not proper. You need to talk white. That's talking white. And then you have to talk Ebonics. If you don't talk Ebonics, you're not part of the Black culture. If you're not from here, you're not part of the Black culture. So there's no real unity in figuring out what is what. So when I asked you, what exactly were we handed in America, there is no answer for it, because what we were handed, we don't want.
Right.
The Black community right now, what we were handed, nobody wants. I wouldn't want it. I don't want to be identified like that. If you're trying to tell me that the Black community is music and good food and family, I can kind of get behind that, but not everybody likes music and not everybody is into the kind of food that Black Americans like. So it's not like I can say that's my culture. The same thing with white people. If you look from Arkansas to Maine, it's not the same white people. From Florida to Washington State, not the same white people. They still live here, but there's not the same culture whatsoever. So they don't really share. White people in America don't even share the same culture. So why are we expecting Black people to share the same culture throughout the United States?
Good point.
Why is it that we need to look the same, act the same, talk the same, be the same, and identify with a culture when everything is different from every aspect of the United States. I'm not going to expect someone in Florida to behave the same, dress the same, act the same as someone in Washington State. It's not going to happen because ain't nobody going in 30-degree weather down in Florida, and then what are going to have winter like they do up here. And so I can't expect people in California to behave just because they're black to behave like people in New York. It's not going to be the same culture.